What's up, guys? Welcome back to the second episode now of 262Talks. Just quick little roll call so everybody knows who's here. We got me, Nick, Daniel's here, Hannah, Kyle's here as well. We got David, Brian, who will be hopping in when he can, and then Isaac. And also, I just wanted to introduce, since the last time we all kind of got to introduce ourselves. Just wanted to let everybody know we got Hannah in today as well. Hannah, why don't you go ahead and start off by introducing yourself? Ashley. Oh my God, I am so sorry.
Maybe
Ashley.
we should just start over.
Do you want to start over? I can
start. Let's roll with it. We're doing it live.
Okay.
Okay, really quick. I'm Humphrey. I'm 25. I'm a photographer in Kenosha, and I take pictures for donations for the Animal Society, because who's going to feed the cats other than me? And I like cats. That's about it. That's all I got.
Tight.
Awesome. All right. Well, so for this episode, we're kind of just going to have like an open discussion based off of the debates that happened last night. So I don't know. Does anyone want to get started with what they think? I don't know. Kyle, do you want to? Oh, Daniel. Okay, you taking the charge. Let's hear it. Let's hear it, my guy.
Okay, so hot take. I thought it was actually a really good night for the both of them after I listened to the debate for the second time. Because I listened to it at first, like when they both got on and they both got started. Biden was, right out the gate, he was really good. He was really hot. He was attacking often, and Trump was pretty back. And I feel like for the first time in his political career, he might have actually been listening to people telling him to chill the fuck out.
Definitely.
Second half of the debate, that's when Biden's Adderall or whatever he takes was starting to wear off. He was tiring out. And Trump started getting kind of mad at some of the stuff that was being said. I think they both had really good quotes and very good clip moments. Like my two favorite lines of the night were from Joe. We had a Republican Congress, and then like a 30-second long silence. I actually kind of like that line because that's the first time I've ever heard like a Democrat actually mention the fact that the Republicans are so obstructionist, especially during the Obama administration. And then for Trump was who built the cages, Joe?
Oh, right.
I'm not gonna lie, solid line from Trump, and I hate both of them, so I can
don't even give him credit.
But it's fair though. It's
give
fair,
credit where credit is due. Yeah,
it's a good line, and it's a good point. To hit Joe on.
First of all, guys, I think we're all in agreement that this debate compared to the last debate was holy fuck, night and day. I think the muting of it really helped everything. Kind of brought
did they
out.
Mute it?
They did.
They were muting. Eventually, they kind of got the gist of it and knew that they needed to stop the fucking talking, so they weren't even trying at that point. So it was I will give it to Trump. He was crazy civil in this one. There was no outburst really, except for a couple here and there talking over the moderator and talking over Biden here and there. But compared to the first debate, oh my God, it was nothing.
See, I would there was much more decorum in this debate. But the one thing I have to say about Trump though is his petty childish jabs are getting old real quick.
Yeah.
They've been old, but in a debate though, first of all, he's behind statistically on a lot of polls right now. So to approach the debate and be childish and petty with childish jabs is not exactly a good strategy to win over swing states that you're right now by statistics and by polls behind him. That's not a good way to approach a re-election and a debate during the re-election campaign. We all know he can be childish. This is an opportunity for him to show his voters, undecided people, or maybe even pull some people from the Biden side over to his side and really show that I could be different than what you are saying I am. But he have more decorum and more, poise, yes. But was he still the same old Trump? Yes. He just did it in a different way.
I feel like everybody's kind of getting sick of his, childish bullying, because I think even one of my favorite lines from the debate was when the moderator literally asked Biden if he wanted to respond to Trump, and he just said no.
No. Yep.
I was like,
not even gonna give it the effort.
Yep. Nope.
I mean, someone clearly talked to both of them on their campaigns and told them that they needed to straighten out. You could just see it how they weren't interrupting each other. Like it wasn't just the muting. Like someone talked to both of them.
Well, yeah, even Trump's campaign said that the first debate was like a huge blow to his campaign, and that like severely negatively influenced him and his voters and everything like that. And I'm sure that
it's the fact that he needed to get overwhelming victories in these debates for him to make up lost ground, and the fact that he looked like a 5-year-old throwing a temper tantrum in the first and it was like a default Biden win in that debate because of how Trump acted. Like if Trump acted the way he did tonight in the first debate, it would have been Trump all day winning.
Yeah.
But since both of them, I think the expectations in the first debate were so low for Biden that everybody was shocked that he did well. And then the expectations for this debate based off of the first debate were so low that everybody is shocked that it actually went as well as it was,
Right. Like, holy shit, we have adults on the stage talking to us.
Yeah.
Like, who would have thought in, 2020, this presidential debate, that we'd have some of the oldest candidates we've ever seen, in American history. Like, and they are most of the time acting like children, but last night was really like a lot different.
What did they say about Abraham Lincoln?
Oh,
That was
Trump-
so funny. I know
he compared
Biden
himself.
I know
Trump is
Biden
always
was like,
trying to say he's like better, like the best for the African American community, besides like Abraham Lincoln, completely ignoring LBJ. Like
that was off. I thought that was like when he said, "I'm the least racist here." I thought that was disgusting. I was like, "You what?"
Okay.
Wait, hold on.
I feel
Especially
like
having
Isaac,
a female like person of color being like the moderator. I was just so
Trump's
confused.
less racist than that moderator.
I feel like Isaac should speak on that, because I know he brought up a really good point in the group chat last night about it too. About Trump saying that he was the least racist out of everybody there.
Okay, so here's my take on that. So when you say he had the perfect opportunity to denounce people who are calling him racist. He could have said up front, I am not a racist. It's sad to call me a racist. However he wanted to word it, he could have worded it that way, but he could have said that he is not a racist. Instead, he uses a strategy that he uses often, which is to make himself look better in the room than anybody else. And this time he looked around the room and he couldn't even see most of the crowd due to the, obviously the stage lit, the crowd is dark for aesthetics, so he couldn't even see the whole crowd. And he looked at them and said, I can't even, paraphrasing, but I can't even see all you guys, but still I know, no matter who's in this room, I am the least racist. Now we know the room was full of people who support Biden and support Trump. So he told his own supporters that, yes, I am racist. I'm the least racist. Now I'm not racist, the least. He's a bit racist. Whatever degree you want to use, that's for your own interpretation. But he said, you guys are racist, all of you in the room. I'm just less racist than you are. So he's telling people, hey, you guys are a bunch of racists in this room. All of you, everybody, you're all racist.
And this is coming from the guy that literally bought ad space in a fucking newspaper trying to convict the Central Park Five. Like, did we just forget that? Like,
I was happy that Biden brought that up.
I think that was really important that he brought that up, because that's something that everybody knows. Like, you have Netflix now, like you can see the entire series, like you can see Oprah talking about it, and like I feel that was like something that might
fake news from the media.
Biden, like for sure.
So yes, I mean, so the thing here's when Trump supporters, when they have, like, let's say the walls pull over their eyes, they don't understand that if he had every Trump supporter in one area, he was able to address them all in person, he would have no problem making himself look greater than, better than. They're all indispensable. Like he can get rid of them at any moment he wants to, and just just destroy them verbally and emotionally to make himself look great. But they still will bow down to him, kiss his feet, because like Trump is. I heard this today. Like Trump is he's an idea more than he is a person.
Can we also
go ahead?
Something that I noticed last night, and then I noticed more today when I rewatched the debate because I paid attention to it more. When the moderator asked the question on, like it was that question about like the talk that happens for Black and brown like families that they have to have with like little kids. When Trump goes to answer that question, he doesn't actually go into like explaining how he understands, what's going on and stuff like that. He just goes into how he's been the best president for, the Black community, and he's done this, blah, blah, blah. Like he didn't actually answer the question. Like, and he didn't answer hardly any of the questions. He just went into the posturing, which
he seems really good at beating around the bush and like skirting around the topics at hand.
The same thing. And I want to add on that, Daniel. I was talking to one of my friends. She's a woman and a person of color, and she was really upset with Biden because he started talking about his kids first when they asked the question of like, how are like different parents going to be doing that?
No, yeah, that's what I was going to mention. I mean, it was the cringiest. There were two really cringy moments in the debate, and the first was when Joe Biden mentioned all of the children separated from their parents, and Trump said something like the word "good." He was just like, "Good."
Yes,
that was like
to 500 kids being unaccounted for. He said, "Good."
Right.
I mean, it is what it is, president. So.
Absolutely. The most cringy part came from both of them because they were talking about race, and there was a moment in there when they were arguing about this stupid stuff about their families, about their business corruption, which, to be honest, like a majority of Americans don't give a crap about. No. And they're yelling at each other about this over the racial questions. And the moderator is repeating, "Our topic is race. Our topic is race."
Right.
Old white men are just screaming about their millions of dollars that are being laundered, and about their son, and about and it was just the cringiest thing I saw. It was the worst part of the whole debate.
To be fair to like, both sides, during this debate, another thing that I didn't love that like Biden kept doing was he kept bringing up like Russia shit the entire debate. And it's like saying like trying to say that the email stuff with his son is like another Russia thing, like, and like I don't know, it was one of those things where it became like halfway through the debate, he had already said it like 5 times. And yeah, Trump kept bringing it up too, but there's a certain way it's like, okay, you've already said that once, like just move past it, ignore him or something. I didn't love it because it just gave me flashbacks to 2016, and it was just not a good look.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that is that he doesn't have like a legitimate excuse that he can actually bring up. Like that is just the only defense that he can come up with. Mm-hmm. That it's Russia, 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 which I mean, I agree. Like, to be honest, Biden's family wasn't even supposed to be a debate topic. Wasn't even in the list of topics at all. And the fact that it took up
Trump, it was.
Sure. Well, exactly.
Say something.
The fact that it became such like a major part of the debate is like insane to me. I don't know, because it wasn't even supposed to be scheduled into the debate. It was just attacking instead of like actually debating about the topics at hand.
Also, both of them are just honestly very out of touch. I mean, they attack each other for the dumbest stuff. Like Trump is always on this thing about attacking Biden for supporting socialized medicine, which he very clearly doesn't. Biden won his primary on healthcare. That's what won him the primary. And all
cap.
All Trump.
What is socialized medicine?
Is to keep
Medicare for all.
Yes. Okay.
And it's just ridiculous. And then also, I mean, Biden's attacks on Russia. It's the same thing. It's like they're just giving their opponent a chance to rile up their base and to get their base excited, because the liberal side doesn't care about Russia anymore, and the Biden supporters like his healthcare idea. So it just doesn't make sense that they keep going after each other for things that the other one wants to talk about.
Well, it's also a good attack line for Trump to use by, like, pointing out, oh, what happened to all the Russia shit that you guys investigated me for 2 years about? Like, is this going to be like, and he used that and it landed, like saying like, oh, it's Russia, Russia, Russia again. Like, yeah. And for his base, that lands pretty hard. And then for the people who are leaning Trump, they're like, yeah, nothing came of that investigation. Why is he bringing up Russia again? Like, can we also acknowledge, why the hell were they bringing up anything with North Korea? Like, as if that's all like prudent.
I believe that was the Trump administration. They wanted to bring in, because like traditionally on the third debate, which is the third debate every year, they always talk about the foreign policies and everything, and I think that was just a part of it. But like, and so they kind of just insisted on putting it in there. Was it supposed to be one of the topics for the night, or did they
just push it in about it? But I mean, I kind of see a point for it. I mean, Trump is the first president we've had that has cozied up to dictators like that, and I think there's a justifiable reason to bring that up.
I mean, if that's what you're trying to like point out during like the debate, like maybe trying to get him to defend himself, like maybe just bring up North Korea as like one of the examples of him doing that, and like not actually spend like a good 20 minutes of the debate talking about North Korea as if that's been on anybody's minds in the slightest during 2020.
Right. I can't remember anything except like, what was it, like Fire and Blood and Rocket Man or something, like that's all I can remember about North Korea. Like, yeah, and now they're buddy.
And he also wanted to get his old press secretary to bang Kim Jong-un or something. Did you guys hear about that?
Wait, no. What?
The chick with the dark hair. What was her name?
Sarah Huckabee Sanders?
Yeah, apparently when he went to go and like talk to Kim Jong-un, like he had like winked at Sarah, and then he like leaned over and said, "Take one for the team."
Oh God. I think he'd be taking one for the team at that point.
I didn't like the way that Biden described other people, our other leaders from like different countries. He was like calling them thugs. And I just feel like that language was just really
lost Ashley.
I just didn't like it. Like that turned me off from Biden. I was upset through the whole thing. Like I just don't know what's gonna happen, and I'm low-key scared because the way Trump acted makes me feel like he can just flip the switch really quick to get the votes, and then when he goes back, if he goes back into presidency, like things are gonna get worse, and I don't know.
But you gotta support a guy. You gotta support a guy that knows the most about air than anybody. I mean, he sounds like a airbender. So I mean, I'm a big fan of Avatar as well. So I was like, hey, we got the last airbender as our president right now, and I mean, shit, why not vote for that? I mean, nobody knows more about air than he does.
Right, and I like how Biden responded to him by saying, like, find me a scientist that'll say that.
Yeah, that was funny.
The environment, because he doesn't want the birds dying from the wind. So, I mean,
who cares about the birds? The birds were replaced by Ronald Reagan. The birds are spies.
They're drones.
That's on you. Like that shows you guys aren't following up with your political education.
If birds are dying by windmills, then birds are dying by Trump Towers.
Exactly, and they I feel like they brought up like buildings and stuff too, and Trump tried to say that like we're trying to take away windows. We want all buildings to not have windows because because
he was trying
birds
to
fly
say that,
into
like,
windows.
I think it was like something with Biden's like energy plan or something like that. He was gonna like he's like insinuating Biden's gonna take away windows because
But
windows energy.
Well, he was
and
also
I don't know what the window thing is, but it's not Biden's energy plan. It's like with healthcare. He loves to talk about Medicare for all as if Biden supports it. He loves to talk about the Green New Deal as if Biden supports it. Biden's plan is trillions of dollars cheaper than the Green New Deal. But he likes to just make it sound like Biden's supporting these things because it riles up his base. And
well,
it's
also
just Trump just spent so much time lying last night.
Trump,
Like that's what I really observed was just lie on immigration, on COVID, on the environment, on everything. He just lied.
I know the fact checkers had a field day.
And was it
Trump
me?
really tried.
Was it me, or did it seem like this was like a do-over from the first debate that they had? It was just like, okay, let's re-ask all the same questions and see if we can get you guys to actually talk about, or at least about some of the actual topics, and maybe talk about some of your policies, maybe talk about some of your plans. It was just like they just was like a do-over. I felt like I didn't learn anything at all, and I just had a couple good laughs. I mean, they were more cordial, and like Isaac said, there was a lot more decorum. But other than that, I mean, another tame.
It's attack, and I think that's like basically what we've gotten used to at this point, because that's like what the whole election cycle has been since it started. Even with the 2016 elections, it's all like Trump's like main strategy is not to explain himself or defend himself. It's literally just attack.
Well, I think so. When they were discussing about Biden and his environmental plan, their own environment, Trump attacked Biden repetitively, saying he wants to eliminate, like a snap of the finger, eliminate the oil industry.
Right, like it's gonna happen overnight.
Gonna be like,
right, yeah.
I'm president, and instantly be like, oh, oil's done. Everybody shut down. Get rid of it. And no more oil, no more gas. Stop driving your cars. We're done. Buy an electric car. I don't care. Like that's how. I mean, Trump is fear mongering to that point where you would think that when Biden, like I said, he becomes president, all of a sudden oil is just going to evaporate, and we're going to have nothing. But like Biden explained though, like this is not. It's a slow crawl for what he's trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think he said that it wouldn't even fully happen until 2050 or something.
Yeah, it's a slow crawl. It's not a sprint. And that's how. But so to rile people up like that, and then to scare like corporations into voting for Trump is what he's ultimately trying to do. Is to get all these oil industry workers to secure their vote,
Right.
to save the oil industry. But just for people, it's like, well, that'll never happen. Even if that was Biden's push, was to close oil down with 4 or 8 years in office, you can't do that in 8 years. That can't happen.
What was interesting about him trying to make Biden say that, though, because he was trying to get Biden to say that. And what was interesting about it was that Trump, and I know we mentioned Texas before, Trump brought up, hey, Texas, you hear that? He wants to end the oil industry.
Yeah.
And that tells me Trump's actually a little worried about Texas.
Yep.
I think his internal polls are telling us something that maybe like national polls aren't showing, because like I have no doubt that Trump will still win Texas. Like I don't think, even though like the polls are, it's like competitive, right? I don't think the Dems are going to swing a victory in Texas. I think it'll be extremely hard.
Don't say that.
But him saying,
I got
him
my
saying what he
crystal,
did
don't
at
say
the
that.
debate, like makes me feel like maybe his internal polls are showing something different. Same with Joe sending out an email from like the, Biden Harris, the donors, like saying, hey, don't trust the polls, go out, vote, this isn't like done yet, is making me think that something in their internal polling is showing something that national polling isn't showing either. So them both doing that has made me feel like, I trust polls to a certain extent. Like I also recognize the margin of error, but when both campaigns are like obviously going like, hey, like, hey, look at this, don't stop now. Like it's making me think that their polls are showing something different than even national polls are.
It's really all just a guesstimate. Like they're not 100% sure on the exact pinpoint of the polls. It's just a guesstimate, and from different sources they'd have different results. So
I mean, I have some snap polls from just after the debate last night.
Let's hear them. Where are we at?
I have some. So these are just on like who won the debate last night. So YouGov has Biden at 54%, Trump at 35%, so a plus 19 for Biden, and they have a 5.2 margin of error, so it could go up or down. CNN had Biden winning 53%, Trump 39 for a Biden plus 14, with a 5.7 margin of error, so pretty similar. Data for Progress had 52% for Biden, 41% for Trump, with a plus 11 for Biden. And then Hoover Institution had Biden at 13% and Trump at 87%.
What?
and then Fox News had Biden at 24 and Trump at 74.
Well, it's Fox News.
You saw Fox News coming.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to get like a decent spread of like independent ones, and
yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a bias too. Like CNN is obviously going to bias more for Biden than Trump because Trump has attacked them at every step of the way, and then Fox News, oh man, I don't even want to get started with Fox News.
I mean, there's like that one Charlie Kirk's network. What is his network called? I can't remember. But like he did a poll, and I guess he had like their poll showed that Biden won, that Trump won 94%.
Oh my god, that's
and Trump's son Don Jr. shared that, being like, "See, take that, libtards." And I was like, "Pog, very cool."
I will say though, so if I was going to take away a couple takeaways on, as best as one can compliment Trump, gave a couple compliments towards his decorum and the way he handles some things, but when it comes to Biden, there's two things that I haven't really seen a politician really do, especially during a debate, is when Trump obviously jabbed about the crime bill. Biden's response was he actually admitted that was a mistake. Now, whether we could pick apart and say, well, he just did have to get votes. Well, people don't say it to get votes, and they just don't admit whether it's to get votes or not. Politicians don't typically admit to a mistake for whatever reason, malicious or truthful. They don't do that. So that is one thing that I would say was pretty positive about him. And also, I made a comment saying that I really felt that Biden took notes from Kamala on how to handle a debate, because he did a good job at speaking to the people, especially his closing statement when they asked what would they say to voters in their inauguration that didn't vote for them. And he did a really good job at saying that he's a president of the American people, not a president of the Democratic people.
Right. He said he's running as a Democrat, but he would be an American president. And that's what we really, at least there's some semblance of bipartisan, which has been severely lacking, in the past few years.
What is that?
It's
both parties agree.
The parties working together. Yeah.
I mean, bipartisanship has disappeared for more than just a couple of years. Trump's just made it worse.
That's what I mean.
But this is off topic of the debate, but I just saw the two candidates running for governor of Utah, the Republican and the Democrat, just put out a joint ad. And they both joke in it like, you should vote for me, you should vote for me. And then they just say something about how they're committed to peaceful transfer to power and just get out and vote. And
oh man, I'll have to check that out.
So rare to see stuff like that these days, and it made me really happy.
You should put the link to it when we post this.
Will do. Yeah, I'll throw that in the comments.
They should, at the next debate, the next time they do presidential debates, because I know there's no more debates for this election cycle. The last question should be now say something nice about your opponent.
Since I don't act like little kids anyway.
You know what's gonna happen when they say that? Hey, I like your tie. I like your tie too. And they're gonna call.
Or they're gonna be he has a rocking caboose.
I will say, Biden did actually try to wave goodbye at the end of the debate last night, and Trump did nothing but just give him the shoulder and walk away from him without even paying him any. I don't know if he just didn't see him waving. I find that hard to believe, But like the fact that Biden did try to and when they did get in there to start off, they did say, hey, how's it going? But then that's when the attacks happened. And then after all of it, Biden did, take that extra step, saying like go into wave, say goodbye to Trump, and he did nothing but give him the cold shoulder and walk away.
I mean, Joe might not be the perfect candidate. He won't be the perfect president, but like he's a good guy. And like to Isaac's point earlier, I mean, it's not usual to see a politician do things and take things back and say they were wrong. But I think Joe Biden's done that a lot throughout his career. I mean, he's someone who is willing to do that. And
he's had such a long career, and the times have changed with his career.
Exactly.
So like, he's really at least he's fucking adapting, like he's actually making an effort to call out his own bullshit,
But think of his upbringing too. That plays a role too. He's a president, or I'm speaking the future terms, my bad. But he is a candidate that is the American people. He is what the majority of American people are. His Trump is from a whole different breed. He was born into money. He was given money to start himself. He was off.
Buddy, but it was just a small loan of $1 million.
Yeah, you're right. I spent that on the weekend. So, but he was so Biden, he understands the American struggle and what it takes to try to achieve the American dream. Trump doesn't, which is why Trump is in the business party, not the Democratic Party is for the working class people. So if you read in between the lines there, you have to understand where things have been going with this presidency, especially with the pandemic. And you really got to see in flying colors how the Republican Party handles the pandemic and handles the American people who are not that 1% and making up this country and making sure that we are all taken care of, which is why you have the HEROES Act sitting on Republicans' desk right now, making a spot on the desk that's going to wear out. And it's going to be like an indentation in the desk that's going to sit there for so long, it's going to break through the desk one day. So because they're not about what they would call handouts, but yet stimulating the economy, as we see other countries doing. They're giving their citizens a monthly stipend, if you will, and that goes back in the economy, thus for stimulating the economy, hence a stimulation package to make sure the economy doesn't flop and fold. So Trump is always talking about, well, we can't close down the country, which another thing from him, closing down the country will make the country disappear, he said. So America's going to disappear if we shut down the country for COVID? Doesn't make any sense. America's not going to disappear. But he kept on trying to push that fact. Well, a good way to combat having to shut the country down to eradicate a virus would be to pass a good stimulus bill to make sure people get money they can spend back in the economy.
Right.
So, because let's be honest, people can shop online nowadays. They don't have to go to a store to shop.
Yeah.
So there's ways to combat that, but the Republicans won't.
Right? Yeah, they're too worried about money instead of people. Like, I liked how Joe was like talking about the people and how the virus is killing the people, and Trump was talking about the businesses, like they need to open up, like they're losing money. I just really was confused.
See, one thing, like, I'm saying this as a leftist, so I know this might be like a hot take from my end. It's
all your takes are
sometimes it's incredibly sometimes it's incredibly frustrating seeing like the presidential debates, like with the two parties that we have, because it's like during so much of the debate it just comes off as, the two parties come off as like pretty much the same, like with Biden being very hawkish, saying, anybody who's going to interfere is going to like face consequences. They're both on the same page with fracking, both of them like bringing up like Wall Street stuff, and then Trump bringing up like the stock market all the time. And, it's just, there were so many moments where it's just like, you guys, there's no distinction between the two parties. There was very few times in there where it was like, it actually felt like there was two parties speaking instead of just one. And it was like, you know, especially with like some of the healthcare stuff, you know, when, you know, Biden was like, I beat 20 something candidates because I actually support private healthcare, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I don't mean to say that like everybody on like the liberal side or the left side, you know, doesn't like private healthcare and think that, you know, we should have like socialized healthcare. I won't even like go there and say that all of us think that, but it's just one of those weird things where it's like, you know, seeing where the tide is changing, especially like amongst the American people, polling for, you know, socialized healthcare and Medicare for all is overwhelmingly positive. Like I believe that like the last time I checked, it was like 67 to like 72% support Medicare for all, and like drastic healthcare reform when it comes to like how expensive.
Kyle and Brian, you're just smiling.
Oh,
you're just smiling. I want to know what that's about.
I'm gonna stop because I know I was like about to like deviate way from
you're losing. You're losing me, man. A majority of Americans want a public option and access to private insurance.
But the public option and access to private healthcare would actually be like, it would be worse than what we have now, because
I completely disagree.
I disagree as well.
If they're not able to secure and make sure that they still have protections for pre-existing conditions, the private healthcare companies will just force everyone else who has pre-existing conditions onto that public option. So the public option will be way too spread out and way too underfunded.
Hey, nobody's saying we should get rid of the Obamacare mandate to turn people away.
But there's like a chance that it could happen, you know.
Not
like,
under Biden's plan,
like,
though.
But under
long
Trump's
time before
plan.
Biden, you know, would be inaugurated. You know, Trump has been making that obvious that that's what he wants to do with the Supreme Court.
Well, yeah, and that's what he's trying to do with the court. But if Biden gets in there, hopefully he can fix that. And that you're right, that Trump is talking about doing that, but Biden is certainly not.
Yeah, I wasn't implying that Biden was saying that, but it's like, say, there's still months before Inauguration Day, and Trump is president until Inauguration Day. So I'm just assuming that, you know, if he gets voted out, he's gonna say, all right, fuck this, let's burn the house down, and then do what he wants to do with, you know, pushing for removing the protections for, you know, pre-existing conditions, or, you know, just getting rid of Obamacare as a, you know, a complete, you know, just getting rid of it completely, just so he can say, oh yeah, I still got rid of it though, like before he gets out, which I feel like that's not a hot character take on what Trump would do. That's, you know, that's why I personally don't agree with a public and a private option. I think it should just be, you know, all one thing together. But, you know, that's me.
I think we should all have
radical anarchist fascist socialist.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna. I know we're probably short on time for this topic.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I just have two takeaways, and one, this is gonna be another kind of conservative hot take, actually. And it's something we don't get from Donald Trump but we would have gotten from a Republican 10 years ago. It's to Isaac's point about how they're all arguing about money, and money this, money that, about when it comes to the stimulus package. If we actually had a president at any point in the past couple decades that wanted to reduce the deficit instead of increase it, if we actually actively work to do that, we wouldn't be having that problems today. And a monthly stimulus check would be no problem. But because of our deficit right now, it's a huge problem. How do we borrow more money to do that responsibly? And my only other take was that, you know, guys, that the one good positive thing I think we can get out of this debate is that, win or lose, this was Donald Trump's last presidential debate.
That's a good one.
I had to think about it for a second. I was like, technically, yeah.
I think we should end on that and go to the next topic. What do you? Wait, no, I mean, Nick?
Trump for 12 more years. Don't you know? Like, our supreme overlord, he will be there forever.
Please no.
Hey, really quick, did you guys see the Biden assassination plot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yes, I did see that. I think I was the one that posted that into the group chat.
That That was nuts.
I haven't been able to look too far into it, but I mean, it's crazy. I mean, there's the stuff about the Michigan governor.
Right.
Yeah, I saw that.
Why are they targeting the Democrats? Like,
I think literally just for having to wear a mask, they're trying to kidnap this governor and hold her hostage so that they drop the mask mandate. Like, I don't understand what their thought process is, but whatever.
Today a Boogaloo boy from that militia was charged in Minneapolis for helping incite the riot. It sounded like.
He shot into the store. He had a AK-47 style rifle.
A right-wing Boogaloo boy, like that's who's doing this stuff. That's who's being violent.
That sounds like fake news. It's them Antifas. It was all because of Barack Antifa is Hussein Al-Babe. It's all his fault.
That, I do. We should probably, talk a little bit about what happened recently in Waukegan. I know I'm not the most educated on it. I know some other members in this group would be a lot more qualified to bring it up than I would. So I'm just gonna let someone go ahead and start that.
Here's what I gathered. Now, initial news reports were all over the place on what happened that night. Now
which is sketchy in itself.
But here's another thing too. If for those of you who were at the scene of Jacob Blake's shooting, it took them an awful long time before they released the crime scene and moved on. Now, the shooting happened at nighttime in Waukegan. And from what I hear, it was cleaned up relatively quickly, not in the typical terms of time that, especially a now murder investigation, would pan out in the time that it would take to process the scene and release the scene. And so here's my thing. Now, body camera footage hasn't been released yet. There was a business that had cameras that hasn't been released yet. Their squad cars have cameras. Now,
first off, let's, like, for all the listeners that have no fucking idea what happened in Waukegan, let's just.
That's what I'm going right now.
Okay, cool.
They are saying that when there was a car that was reported suspicious, they were investigating the vehicle that these two individuals were in. Now, the first officer approached that car. That vehicle, according to the report, allegedly left the scene when the officer approached them at first. They were spotted roughly 0.6 miles away by another officer, Officer 2, who then made contact with said vehicle. Now, according to this officer, when he made contact, the vehicle went in reverse. This officer feared for his life. He pulled out his service weapon and shot into the vehicle, hitting the driver, killing the passenger. Now, that's what reports state. Now, when I break that down, here is my thought, because we don't have body camera footage. Where was this officer in relation to the car when his car went in reverse? Now, if this was a typical traffic stop, he turned his lights on, pulled him over. Officers stagger their car off the driver's side bumper, and they approach the car. They don't go on that pinch point behind the car for reason of reversing and being held captive by a car. So if they went straight back, he wouldn't have been in fear for his life because they were going straight backwards. So there's a lot of unknown things about this scene. They drove over some grass to get to him. There's tire marks on the scene. They went over grass to approach his car. So there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know how the shooting victims' cars was placed in relation to the cop car, where the police officer was in relation to the victim's car. We don't know. There's a lot of unknowns. But based upon what the report says, it sounds like they spotted the car, he turned on his lights, pulled him over, he approached the car in normal, typical police officer fashion, and we've all been pulled over probably, so we all know how they approach us. They slammed in reverse. He pulled out his gun, shot in the car, an angle of which would have allowed to hit the passenger and the driver. So there's a lot of unknowns. There's talk that the vehicle ended up being backed into a business, and they boarded up the business from the damage right away before the public was allowed to see it. There's a witness who was recorded talking about what he saw, saying that it was not what they are describing. So there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of cover up. My personal opinion would be, if they were justified in this shooting, they would have released the body cam footage already. Why would they let the community speculate over what is happening when they can just release the body cam footage if it was justified? So we've seen a lot of cover-ups throughout the course.
This is what they always do.
Well, yeah, we've seen cover-ups. What's cover-ups? Look what happened in Kenosha. There's cover-ups, there's cover-ups, there's cover-ups to save each other and to, in the name of investigation. Well, no, it's body camera footage for transparency. If you were justified, you would show it. If you're trying to cover something up, you're not going to show it. So without seeing body cam footage, it's already beyond fishy, and I highly doubt when we see the body camera footage, it's going to come off as justified. But then on that case, it's going to come up to like we're waiting in Kenosha for Jacob Blake, will they charge this officer or not?
And keep in mind that they literally, like, this vehicle, from what I gathered, they reported, like, somebody called in saying that the vehicle was parked suspiciously. They were outside of, like, I think it was his mother's house, parked outside of his house.
Which is also by a park.
Okay, yeah. So, like, the fact that, you know, it was called in suspicious when all they were doing was sitting in a car is kind of, you know,
Sitting
a little.
in a car and being black is a crime in America.
Yeah.
Like literally, I sit
Exactly.
outside of my car answering like Snapchats after work, like outside of my house every single fucking day. But I promise I'm never gonna have a cop called on me because I'm a white passing Hispanic guy. Like they're not gonna be like, oh, that's suspicious.
Yeah.
Like
That
So again, this is another incidence of a black person losing their life because white people have to say things suspicious and get the cops involved. And then we're losing more African Americans, and white people cannot mind their own business, drop the racism, let black people live their lives and leave them alone.
I always, even here at Stevens Point, it's majority white people, and I have mostly black friends, so I always get like those looks, and I just find it very weird that the culture and like everything is just so different. Like I just like the people who I'm friends with like are caring and like want to know what's going on and like have so much love for me, but then the other people I'm friends with like talk about me behind my back and like all this other stuff. But that's happened like in Kenosha as well. Like every time I go somewhere else, it's always the same type of like difference.
And they talked a little bit about that in the debate too, when they were talking about like how ingrained into society and everybody's mind just like this institutional racism has come, that like at this point we don't even like know about it unless we're victims of it, you know what I mean? Like, and now all this shit is happening here in 2020 of all fucking years, and it's just like one thing after the other. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake right here at home, and now, you know, super close also we've got
what's his,
you know, the Marcellus, I believe.
Marcellus.
Really quick, Marcellus Stinnett. Say his name, right?
Yeah,
yes, Marcellus Stinnett.
October 25th at 3 p.m. in Waukegan, they're going to be holding a candlelight vigil on Helmholtz and MLK Drive in Waukegan, Illinois. So there really is no justification.
That's downtown towards the police department, right?
Absolutely, I believe so.
Okay.
It's just sickening, and I encourage all you guys to come out there. I think
I will be there.
You're gonna be home, Hannah?
Yeah, I'm coming home tomorrow.
Isaac, I know you're gonna be out there. Kyle, I know you're probably gonna be out there as well.
When is this happening again? What was the date?
The 25th. It's this Sunday.
Sunday.
Okay.
oh, I'll be there. Yeah, I get out of work at 1 that day, so yeah, I'll be there.
I'll do my best.
The big thing
I'm reading the article right here. That's why I was like looking away. And it sucks because it just seems like the same article all the time. Like where people are saying, like the Black people, the victims are like, I didn't do anything. The families like they didn't do anything. And then the police officers always fear for their lives, but it doesn't, like none of the stories add up. None of
Ain't it funny how
it just doesn't make sense.
Ain't it funny that the person who has the gun, the pepper spray, the baton is always in fear of their life? It's never the person who's,
I don't
just
like
minding their fucking business. Like,
here's another question though too. I'm gonna ask everybody who's on this podcast right now. If somebody was about to hit you with the car, what is your first reaction?
Jump out the fucking
jump out of the way.
like, yeah.
Are you gonna reach even if you had a gun on you as a civilian? Are you gonna pull a gun? Or are you gonna get out of the way? You're gonna
get out of the way and then be like, "Yo, why'd you almost hit me with your car?"
If they were to put that car in drive and then forward at you, okay, fine, you pull out your gun and you shot at them. But even then, the momentum of the car is not going to stop because you shot at them and killed them. You still want to get out the way. That would be your first instinct before anything. If they floor the car, they're going to hit you. You can shoot them. You can kill them instantly. The car's not going to stop instantly.
You're going to get biffed.
You're still in the line of the car. So the first reaction should be to get out of the way. So I don't care what that officer said. He was afraid for his life because the car was in reverse. He should have got out of the way, reassessed, and done his job the right way.
And but that makes me feel like it seems like that was his immediate intention, like that he was already like going with that, probably like out of his car, hand on his gun.
He probably
like we see so many
times. He was holding like his hips like this,
Yeah.
What are you doing today,
But here's my thing too. How much fear mongering is the person, because the cops just don't appear. So how much fear mongering is happening when the person calls 911? What is the dispatcher relaying to the officers? How much fear are they putting in the officer? And are we conditioning our officers by saying, well, there's two Black people and these white people are scared? I'm not going to say white people, but these people are scared. They're afraid for their lives. There's Black people outside their house. Get there now. So are we putting this unnecessary fear in these officers' heads so when they arrive there? Not that's an excuse, but it's not. They should be their own person. They should make their own decisions. But because they don't just show up. They're dispatched. So I mean, this is also, like I said before, talking to people who cannot mind their own business when they see Black people in public. If they are doing nothing wrong, they're not affecting you. Live and let live.
Yeah,
do you let them do them? If they affect your livelihood, you and yours, call the police. But if they're doing nothing, leave them alone. Because your racism, by extension, by calling the police, is getting Black people killed. And I'm fed up.
I'm done.
It's one of those things where it's like, how come our community's bravest, our men and women in uniform that serve the community, like they're the bravest, they're heroes. How come they're always scared if they're that brave? Like, it's like if you're going into a situation where you're investigating something, like if you are such a coward, the first reaction you have is to go and basically execute someone. Like fully granted, we have not seen the videos of this, of this incident or whatever. Like we haven't seen it yet, but it's one of those things where, again, regardless, if you are so brave and you're serving your community and everything, how come your first reaction is going straight to the pistol? Oh wait, it's because of this like society, like this microcosm of a society we have in the police force, which says you're all warriors, you're fighting crime, you're protecting against evil in your community. And like they're being taught, instead of, going to these non-violent, non-lethal options, they're being taught to empty their clip, and it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, it makes me angry.
It's time that officers start to lead with their hearts and their minds and not their gun.
Yep.
So when they approach a scene, approach it with your heart and your mind first, and your gun if you need it. Your gun should be your last resort. It should not. Officers are supposed to preserve life. If they have to take a life, they have to take a life. But it should be the absolute last possible step on the chain, on a flow chart of engagement. That should be the last thing you consider is taking a life. I will not tell an officer who is about to die at the hands of somebody else to not take that person's life, or if somebody else, if they have to do it and it's justified, it's justified. I will not argue that if it's justified. But there are way too many police shootings, blacks, whites, Hispanics, Asians included, that are not justified, and things have to change. Because, and also, again, I cannot stress enough, people need to quit calling the police for things that the police do not need to be called for.
Exactly.
There
Exactly.
was one of my friends who had another one of her friends that was suicidal and was posting like suicidal things. And I was like, yeah, you need to call the police. Like, they have to do a checkup. They have to do something. And I've been hospitalized before. I've been chaptered. So I thought, like, if that happened, like, you legally had to, like, go to treatment. But we called 911, and the lady that we talked to was so rude. She was so rude, like asking a bunch of questions, like had an attitude, like whatever. And then when they went to the girl's house, they just did like, oh, they were just like, okay, what's wrong? Are you okay? And within like 5 minutes, they were gone. They didn't do anything.
Well, and this really gets at the topic like of what defunding the police or recreating the police is. I mean, Isaac, you're right. I mean, there's situations where there are going to be armed robberies, there are going to be murders, mass shootings and stuff. And yeah, like we're gonna need an armed person there to defend people and defend them. But when it comes to things like what Hannah was just saying, or things like this, what happened in Waukegan, why did we need an armed officer there at all? Period. Why not workers? And that's really, that gets to the core of it. But I have two thoughts on Waukegan that are a little more positive as we can be during this. And one is something I thought with the Jacob Blake stuff as well. We're starting to have survivors. We're starting to have survivors of this violence. The young lady in the car in Waukegan survived, and they now have her, Jacob Blake, they have powerful, powerful positions now. Their words will be powerful, and they can make witness statements. They can go and speak to the public, and like that's special, and that's important that we're starting to have that. And so that's a positive. The other thing, I don't know if any of us went to a protest in Waukegan yet. I know I haven't.
I have not, no.
I mean, look at the news. No rioting.
No.
And so my question is, what is Waukegan doing differently than Kenosha? And is every city in America taking note right now? Because what is Waukegan doing differently because protests have been happening, but police apparently aren't escalating it. And so
there you go. That's
really
that's the answer.
Well, and I'd like to see, like, I'd like to know more about what it is that they're doing and whose idea that was, who realized, like, had the big wake up call. Wait a second,
right?
Because when we pump them full of tear gas, they get really angry.
But yeah, because that was Kenosha's first response, was to bring out riot control. Use these like literally that was their first response. And like that's what we're seeing, is that the police department's first fucking response and first inclination is just to answer with violence. It's not the other people that are inciting the violence, except for maybe like, I don't know, the fucking Kenosha Guard militiamen that all swarmed in too. They incite the violence too. But I'm saying the police showing up, shooting people with these, pepper bullets and, loading people full of tear gas and everything, which is a war crime. That's their first fucking... That's their
don't you know response. It's not a war crime because it's the cops doing it. I'm a very smart person.
Can we say though?
I think maybe it's. Go ahead, Isaac. Go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. You were already talking. So shoot.
No, you're talking.
I've been talking.
Yeah, you're talking. Yeah, you've been talking. Keep talking.
So you have officers. Let's just say it's a hostage situation. They will respond to a situation. Yeah, with guns, of course, because it's a hostage. A lot of people have guns in those kind of situations. But they will talk to this individual for hours before having a SWAT team assembled going into a house. Why can they be that patient and non-violent for a hostage situation where somebody's actually is threatening somebody's life. But when they approach Black people, minorities, or other people they deem unworthy of life, they're quick to pull their gun and they're quick to shoot. But yet, I can pull up to if these officers can pull up to a house, there's one person inside. He has his wife at gunpoint, and here they are with a loudspeaker. Sir, if you can hear us, answer your phone.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you already
Please
know.
come out.
Text WhatsApp.
There's a person inside the house threatening there's somebody threatening somebody's life. There's a risk of loss of life in the situation. Waukegan, there are two people in a car minding their own business, and one of them dies, one gets shot. I cannot I can. I know there's reasons to this, but I cannot wrap my head around the thought process of an officer, regardless of what everybody else is doing around the country.
Very simple.
I do want to hear from Brian because I know
I was
just
about to say,
I know he has such a strong opinion.
No, go ahead, Isaac. You keep going. When you done, I'm gonna let you finish. And as soon as you're done, I'm gonna say what I had to say. So go ahead. Yeah, I'm gonna let you finish.
So I asked the part where I said I can. So yes, there's police officers, the racism, how police officers are trained or their lack of training, what they do. There is a very the gun culture. The quick to pull a gun is a culture. It's a police culture that is wrong. But here's when I think of myself, other people, how people are their own people. When I say I can't wrap my mind around this aspect, you're your own person. So the officers who are selling out to what a lot of people will refer to, and I have referred to at times myself, the cult mentality of we all do the same thing, we all walk this line, the blue line, we're all the same, we're all going to respond the same, is old. And we're losing too many lives because officers will not speak for themselves, be themselves, react on their own accord. They follow this lack of training, which is very minimal to be an officer. There's more training to do jobs that are less critical in the aspect of human life than having to be a police officer.
A part-time McDonald's employee gets more training than police officers do.
I'm kind of telling you that when you become a manager at McDonald's, you probably have more training than a police officer does. So that's why I can't wrap my head around the individual aspect. We all have our own brain. We all have our own mind. So if we're selling out, that makes sense. But even then, at what point in an officer's career does he decide that I was raised to be who I am, Black, white, whatever you are, but I instantly decided that I'm going to sell out. I'm going to be what everybody else is. We're going to be robots. We're going to be commanded by the U.S. government. We're all robots. We all have no feelings, no emotions. We're going to shoot, kill, go home and kiss our wives and our kids goodnight, the bed. And then we're going to go back and do it all over again. So, Brian, it's you.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off that, I don't think you should be surprised because the military and the police are very parallel in their training, right? So being in the military, there is no individualism. You're collective, and what they're teaching the collective is very aggressive tactics and very aggressive training. There is no individual thinking of, hey, I'm a human being, that's a human being. No, it's they're out there to do a certain job, and the culture that has been cultivated by the police is what it is today, and that's what we got. That's why you got a lot of brown and Black people, and the ratio was a lot higher for them to be murdered by police than you do other races, and it's historical roots. So I don't think we should be surprised. I think what we need to do is kind of going back to what Kyle was saying is figure out ways that where we can be more assertive and actually make actual change. Right now, the time for marching in the streets is over right now. The time is to start putting our brains together and collectively trying to figure out how to police reform, how to defund, how to figure out, get them more training, how to get them more social awareness when they go out to a call and they're not shooting somebody who is mentally challenged. How to get out of the way of a moving vehicle, how to not shoot a Black person 7 times in the back, how to, there's so many different ways, because when they get into this mindset and then when they get into the actual force, when they get into to their training, there is no individualism anymore. You have to let all that go. You have to become part of the collective. And once you become part of the collective, that's what we have. And that's why you're not going to stop seeing, I hate to be the pessimist, you're not going to stop seeing black people getting shot. You're not going to stop seeing brown people getting shot until we stop funding the police in the ways that we're funding the police. We need to have them get more training. Exactly. Until we can get them more training. Again, I will forever be blown away that the fact that one of our leaders in the community here in Kenosha, Alvin D. Owens, has more training to be a barber than the average police officer in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
That is
crazy. And then let's also talk about the fact that the police force, they're rooted in KKK, white supremacy. That's the route that a lot of neo-Nazis go to maintain that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? To maintain that foot on our neck. Well, we can't go out there and burn steaks in their front yard anymore. So what are we going to do? We're going to go out there and we're going to be extra hard on them. We're going to put them in prisons. We're going to put them in jail. We're going to, every chance we get, we react differently to them than we do others. And it's clear as day. It's clear as day. Like the fact that we just had last year Tyrese West, right? Shot 2 times in the head. That police officer is still on the force. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, her killers are still walking free. George Floyd, his killer is out on bail right now. Officer Shesky, the attempted murder of Jacob Blake, he's getting paid right now as we speak. Come on now, and that's so close. We're so close to Waukegan that these officers can't think like, hey, something's going on right now. If they had that humanity thinking like, oh, we need to treat each other better, and this is a black person. Let me rethink this, because things that have been going on right here in the Midwest, right in close proximity, they would have been like, hey, Jacob Blake just got shot a little while ago. Let me go about this a different way. Let me get out of the way of this moving car. I have a taser. I have a baton. I can call for backup. There's so many different ways that you can go about this. They are trained to shoot and kill black. Shoot first, ask questions later, and then the fact. And then Kyle, you could speak to this because this is something that you brought up to me. Is the police unions? They have one of the strongest unions out there. They take care of their own. They are basically trained to figure out how to get that person off, so that way they can go back to work. Joseph Mensah then killed 3 people in Wauwatosa. 3 people.
I saw
and
that.
He's still on the force.
Police union
Still on
is
the
the
force.
only form
How
of
do we
union
change
that actually
that?
still have power in the United States. And it's sad that like the one successful union that the United States has at this point anymore are the police unions, which basically help people get away with actual murder. And it makes people look
And I love your question. That's the big question. How do we change that?
That's been on my mind this whole time when I'm in the
Nothing
streets,
more, nothing less. How do we change that?
What do we do?
And I mean,
what can we do?
We vote.
On the union issue, I mean, you will never catch me saying that any worker, no matter what their job is, doesn't have the right to be in a union. Every worker should be in a union, in my opinion. Every worker should be paid better than a living wage, including police. Like I'm not someone who says that. In fact, police need to be paid a lot more and get a lot less overtime, if you want my opinion, so that they're a lot less stressed out. But we do have to curtail that power on the police unions because it's a little different when lives are at stake than a teachers union just advocating for a teacher who might have like swore at a kid or something. It's a little different.
Hot take. I don't think police departments, sheriffs, or police unions should be able to endorse candidates just because to me ain't a great look. Because especially like especially like our own sheriff endorsing Donald Trump and police departments all across the country endorsing Trump, it just comes off as a bad look. They're like, hey, you lefties, you liberals, like we don't actually, like it's just.
But
don't think that police like that, like the. I don't think that they should be in a position where it's obvious that they're taking sides. You know, like.
I mean, I think that's fine I think we could have a debate if any union should have the right to endorse in a political race, if any union or corporation or anything should have the right to do that. But when it comes to an individual like Sheriff Beth, let him endorse who he wants to. It shows who he is.
But the sheriff, well, I mean, again, yeah, everybody knows that Sheriff Beth is a piece of shit. Like, that's not a hot take. But it's like the fact that he is the sheriff, he has power over a lot of his underlings in the police force. And it is very much viewed that he speaks for the sheriff's department. So it's one of those things where if you are in a position like you are the sheriff, you are the chief, or you're the spokesperson for a police force, you should not be able to, by law, to endorse a political candidate for in any level, whether it be city, state, or national, just because it sets a precedent. You don't care about the other side, or we do pick favorites, and it's that like, cause like if you pull over somebody with a a Trump sticker on their tailgate, might be a little more friendly with them. I have a Bernie, or say Brian has a Bernie Sanders sticker on his truck or car or whatever. I wouldn't feel like they're gonna come up to me.
Daniel, really quick, I will tell you this: I have a back-to-badge magnet for my vehicle. Yes, I do. As soon as I hit West of the Eye, I slap that back-to-badge on my vehicle because I know I've been told. I know it is, and I've been told by several people. I have friends that have given me this information and said, "Hey, Brian, if you're going to be traveling over here to come hang out with us, use this." And they are 110% correct, because there's been times where the cops have been right behind me and I don't have it, and I've been pulled over for nothing. And there have been times where I've had it on my car, and
they just pass you by. Yeah,
pass me by.
I mean, that's so sad that's something that you have to do, but like. That is smart. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I got it. I'm not gonna be riding around out there in the county with the Bernie Sanders sticker and being black. No.
Have a straight up anarcho-communist flag sticker on the back of your car. You're just like, I don't care.
Shit, I'm gonna have a big Trump pin sign on the back of my car going out.
I had this in like, it was like illegally like in my car, like. I had it in the back, so I really couldn't see out of my back window. But I never was afraid like I'd get pulled over or like anything like that, because
you're an innocent little white girl. Of course you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, like, and it sucks that you guys can't have something that simple. Like, if they even saw the littlest thing, like you couldn't see out of your back window, like they'd freak out.
And that is part reason. They're like, that is part of the definition. At that stop sign. Like,
that is part of the definition of white privilege. And at this point, if you can't acknowledge that is a thing, then you're just blind. Like, you're just blind. I don't know.
Say that again.
I said that was basically that's a definition of white privilege. Her being able to not worry about it, while Brian has to fucking take extra precautions to make sure that he doesn't get pulled over when it would never even cross her mind. That is white privilege. And if you can't see that, you're blind, and there's nothing I can do to open your eyes at this point, especially with everything going on.
I've gotten more stares since I've while me just driving around by cops. Since I hung the Puerto Rican flag on my rear view mirror than I ever had before. Like, I had hung up that flag and shit like that. Like, I get double takes and shit like that all the time, but I think the fact that I'm still white passing kind of gives me the they're like, oh, maybe that's his girlfriend's car or something. And it's like, but it's still weird that's hanging a little flag. It gives it enough to where people are like, are they brown? Don't look brown, I
don't know, that just really makes me upset, because I'm honestly, Isaac, I could be scared for you right now. You're sitting in a car, you know what I mean? It sucks that for real, it sucks that that thought should even cross my mind, that right now I could be thinking about my cousins driving around and I'd be worried, because of how the
that
police officers are in
just
Kenosha.
someone just died in Waukegan for doing what you're doing right now, Isaac, is fucking insane. But
The
I think
coconuts you have.
What did you say?
The coconuts that you have.
you got
Take your
balls.
ass
You got
aside.
balls, brother. Okay,
Actually,
but
I want to say, like, can we speak on white privilege for a moment, because you brought it
really quick, because we do have to wrap
Yeah,
it up.
we're getting pretty long on it now.
I can end it. It's very quick. It's very simple. So, for the people who insist that white privilege is not a thing, are also the people who are able to ignore and just close their doors to the systemic racism that we're seeing, to the Black lives that we're losing, to the Hispanics and Latinos who are being thrown in cages at the border and their families being separated. If you can just go to sleep at night and rest your little head on your privileged pillow and go to sleep and ignore it all, that's white privilege. I'm not, like, if you can just shut your door and be like, oh, all's fine in my world, that's a privilege. That's white privilege.
Exactly.
So you guys are living in the comfort talking to white privileged people, not the ones who are standing up for Black lives. You guys can live in the comfort of your own home and be comfortable, and none of this bothers you. Again, that's white privilege. If you can send your kid to school and you know that they're not going to get bullied, picked on, or teased by other kids, or
teachers.
That too. What happened recently in Elkhorn at a football game? A fifth grader called a Black kid the N-word. A fifth grader in Elkhorn. So if you can send your white kids to school and not have to worry about, typical kid bullying, fine, but not worry about racism, that's a privilege. You can send your Black kid off to school who's driving age of high school and not have to worry about them getting pulled over for driving while Black and getting shot to death because they're Black in America and you're walking down the street. That's a privilege.
I mean, if I put Hispanic on a job application, I've noticed that sometimes I won't get a call back. But if I do the exact same application, but I go and change that I am Caucasian or white or however they have it on there, times out of 10, I will get a call. And it would be the exact same application.
That is there for them to fill their diversity quota, and that is it. As soon as that's filled, they don't give a fuck. Like,
no, and that's real. I mean, and that's why there's the ban the box movement to ban the question, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Because when you check that box, it doesn't tell the whole story. And I'm deaf in my left ear, and so I've checked disabled on those surveys before, and I have noticed the same thing. I mean, employment discrimination is a very real thing.
So, real quick, felons are American citizens. Felons are humans. Felons should be allowed to vote out of prison. I don't care if that's supervision or not. They're still a citizen. They're still an American, and they should be allowed to vote.
All right.
Perfect way to end.
Nick.
Yes, I think that was very well said. What's up, Hannah?
I think we should, since we talked about the debate, I think we should see if our predictions changed.
Really, I think really quickly, if it has changed or hasn't, like,
since we talked about it and we saw.
My opinion is more fluid now than it was last week, just because of the announcements that, like, the emails that Trump and Harris sent out and things that have, mine's more not 100%.
I think for the next episode, we can save that for all the fact checking from this debate to come out, for us to, get a good grip on everything that's going on.
And only be a few days away.
Yeah. But I think this was an awesome episode.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up and, speaking out and everything. Thank you, everybody, for listening and tuning in. This is 262 Talks. And yeah, thank you.
Vote.
Vote.
Yeah, vote.
Vote.
Check your voter registration right now, and then, okay, bye.
Bye.